Hey, welcome back to the Vintage Fisherman. Today, I'm going to tear down a Swedish made in Sweden, Abu Garcia Ambassadeur 5500 C3. C3 means 3 bearings. They have a C4 version, which is 4 bearings. There's an extra bearing on the worm drive. These are level line reels. This one is, I think it's an older one just because of the handle. I'm not an Ambassador aficionado. Somebody out there probably is. I know with Garcia you can go by the serial number on the foot. Somebody can probably tell me the year of manufacture on this reel. It's a righty, so I'm not going to probably fish with it, but I'll fix it up for one of my kids or I'll sell it. I use left-hand crank bait casters, and I got this in a box of reels. I probably paid $2 for this reel. So I'm going to take it apart and clean it up. You can tell it's really grungy. It's just got a lot of, barn dust or garage dust all over it. But these were some great reels. People just go crazy over these reels. It won't be any problem for me to definitely make a profit on this beautiful reel. That one's made a little different. Mostly they have a snap ring in the end of them. That one's got a screw. Somebody might be able to tell me the significance of that, because this would be the first one I've ever seen with a screw in it. In fact, I buy those snap rings by the dozens because I end up losing them taking these reels apart or putting them together. They go flying into orbit. My floor probably has 50 of them on it. If I ever move out of this workshop someday, I'm probably going to be amazed at what I find on the floor. So your handle comes off. I'm going to set it over here. You got a handle washer. I'm going to put everything in order. Your drag comes off. Since it's a right hand reel, it comes off in standard rotation, just like a pin conventional or whatever. It's a little stiff, nothing real bad though. And your drag washer, there's a bearing there. We'll get to that in a minute. I'm gonna go ahead and take this tension adjuster knob off. They have like a little snap thing inside of them, plus that one also has a shim. We'll leave that out. This you can just kind of slide to one side and gently pop it off. That's clear plastic. I've never seen one clear plastic before, so who knows. This might be a really old reel, folks, Maybe I got something a little different here. Take the quick take down thumb screws out of it. They won't come all the way out, they'll just come loose. And you can pull your drive side off. We'll come back to that. Here's your spool assembly. On your spool assembly, you've got these centrifugal weights. You don't want to lose those. Your shaft will pull out of it. The drive gear for the level line is in the very back. It just snaps in there, and down inside of here is bearings. There's going to be a snap ring acclimated here. There's a snap ring that goes around the outside of this spool centerpiece here. We're going to try to get that off without watching it disappear into orbit here in the shop. Okay, so I got that off of there. The thing that centrifugal weights rides on, I'm sure there's a term for that. It comes off, and then you can get your bearings out. All you really got to do is just take your old axle shaft. They'll push out one side, and they'll push out the other. And there are shims in there, people. Be careful of that. You don't want to lose those. And remember, they go on the gear drive side. There's one in this particular reel. Now that spool is completely taken down. Next thing I'm gonna do while I'm at it is check the bearings. They're good. That one's good. Yeah, those bearings are like brand new. So they're going to get some of this, my special mix of bearing oil here. Let them soak. All right, we're going to continue the tear down of the non-drive side. There's 3 screws. And then this whole back cover. And this tear down procedure is the same for the left hand reel. There's really no difference in the left hand, the 01s. If this is the left hand, it'd be a 5501, which I own a bunch of. I've probably owned 15 of these things in 5501. And it's the same. The only difference in the 2 reels is the anti-reverse bearing, or if it's an older model, it doesn't have the bearing, it's got the pawl in it. That will be set up different. So those parts aren't interchangeable. The gears aren't interchangeable, and pretty much the frames aren't interchangeable. So it's not a whole lot of interchangeability between the lefties and the righties. So to get the worm drive off, or the level line, we'll take this cap off right here. Now these caps on the Abu Garcias, Ambassadors, whatever you want to call them, they're not too bad. But you get a Shimano, like a Corsair or Corrado, or whatever they are, they don't do well. They're plastic and they crack, and you can't reuse them, and good luck finding replacements. Alright, so that's off. I don't see a shim down in there. This one might be the exception to the rule. They usually have a little shim under, and the dog comes out of there, and yeah, I don't see a shim in that. So I guess that's a good thing. So this just rotates around and slides out. I hope you're seeing that okay. I'm kind of moving fast again. I get ahead of myself. The worm pulls out. Then that's pretty much it. Now if it were a C4, I'll show you the difference. A C4 will have a bearing underneath that little bushing right there. That's the only difference in them, really. And there's the frame, and you can flip this little cover up and help you clean up under there. This will pop off, but I broke them taking them off, so I don't recommend popping it off. Just fold it up. That hood folds up so you can tie your line onto the spool. That's why it was made that way. Okay. Now down here, you notice I stopped dead in my tracks when I was taking this apart. There's shims down there, so we're going to get to that in just a second. Up on this level line drive, there's an E-clip. Put your fingers over top of it. Pop it free. Okay, it was on there, and that gear just comes right off. Now, some of the newer reels, that gear pops in there. Now, there's shims down there. That spool shaft, I'm not sure why you put those shims there, because they don't look like they belong there, but that little cover comes off, and you got 2 shims there. So we're going to put them right there. The cover is done, and done right there. This side of the reel, this is not a anti-reverse bearing on this one. This has got an anti-reverse pawl. The anti-reverse bearing would be instant. When you go to turn backwards, it's an instant thing. These are not. I like this style better. It's more reliable in my opinion. that anti-reverse bearing is a point of failure. That's just my opinion. You're probably going to disagree with me, but I've been using these cans for a long time. I call them cans. I've been using these Swedish made Abu Garcias for a long time, and my favorites on this is an older reel. I can tell you this by the way it's made. It's an older reel. I can't say whether it's ever been apart or not. So it comes out. Gosh, she's a beautiful reel. Inside of here, pay attention. You've got a bearing. That bearing can go either way. No big deal. I'm just gonna. That bearing's a little rough. But since we're on the kick of getting all these little pieces in order, the one with a bevel cut on it, notice it's got another washer on it. That one goes up towards the bearing, so it'll go first. And you got the other, you got a bevel washer. I don't think there's, that first one's not considered a bevel washer. Of course, there's the cover. It's done. You had the bearing. She's rough. I may have another bearing in stock, but I'm gonna go ahead and oil it and see if it don't come back around. I got a way to fix that too. I got a little plate that I can put these bearings in and put some alcohol or butane in them, and I heat them up from the bottom with a heating element, and that bulling around the bearing just kind of knocks any grit that might be inside of there out. That one's coming back around. I think she's going to be okay. May not have to put a bearing in it after all. And then there's the other bevel washer. I knew there was two. And this whole assembly comes out. Make sure there's not a washer down there. There's supposed to be. I ain't too sure if that, no, they don't fit there. Alright. Your anti-reverse dog is right here. We're almost done with this reel, believe it or not. There's not much to it. The anti-reverse dog would have gone on here like this. Okay. So if this was upside down, it'd go like this. When it goes back down, or it goes on, and that would go onto that little peg right there, that post. It'd go on something like, like that. Okay. It's not down all the way, but you get the gist of it. I'm not sure why it's not going down all the way. There it goes. See, it would go like that. So when you pull it off of here, if you get a hold of it right, it'll all come off together. Okay. And it uses friction to drop the anti-reverse dog back against those teeth. You want those bent towards each other a little bit, but not completely closed up. And you don't want oil or grease on this. I never do. Okay, moving right along. Everything just needs a good cleaning on this reel. We'll have friction washer. I'm putting things in order, folks. This drag set has been lubricated. I don't know if it's from the factory or what. Drag stack, I meant to say, not set. It's been pretty well took care of. Looks like it may have been into once before. And there. So that's the whole drag stack right there. Done. Here's your main gear, done. The springs are all one piece, comes off just like that. And then you can lift the bridge off of here. And I'm not going to go any further with it. I'm going to clean this reel just like you see it right there. drop that down in the cleaning tank and clean it just like you see it. This gear pops off the bridge. There's the gear. There's the reel. There's no hidden shims anywhere that I see. I'm still a little bit bewildered by why those shims were where they were. I'll pull the schematic and make sure that's correct, because those shims could go a couple of different places, to be honest with you. Anyway, that is it. That is the complete teardown, and it's a beautiful reel. It's in really good shape, of a really nice 5500 C3, 3 bearings. It's gonna make a nice reel. I'll come back in a day or two. I don't know if I'm gonna get down here tomorrow. I got a lot going on with the holidays and stuff, but I'll finish this video up for you, and hope to see you soon. Well, I'm back working on this Ambassadeur 5500, and I got to thinking today at work that I don't think I've ever actually done a non-left-hand Ambassadeur. All I have ever owned is left-hand Ambassadors. When I started getting into bass fishing pretty heavy back in the mid to late 90s, no, I'll go back further than that, probably mid to late 80s, I bought a right-handed reel. It was a Bantam Shimano, and I noticed when I was fishing that I would miss a strike from a fish every once in a while, and I thought, well, that's not good. And it was usually when I was transitioning hands. I've had people say I'm full of crap when I tell them this story, but it's the truth. And I got to thinking, you know, I grew up using spinning gear, and I was always casting with my right hand and cranking with my left, and I didn't understand why the industry wants us to do the opposite with bait casters. It didn't make any sense to me. So I was at a Kmart, a local Kmart, who had a really good fishing section in it, and I saw a left-hand Bantam. So I picked it up, bought it. I think I paid like 30 bucks for it or something, 60 bucks, I don't know, and never looked back. I put it on the rod I already had, and immediately just started fishing a lot better. So that's where I got to using left-hand bait casters, and I've got a bunch of Shimano Bantams. Those are my preferred low profiles. I've got a few Garcia low profiles, and then I've got a whole bunch of these cans because I like these things. So the 4501 is about near the most perfect bass reel there's ever made. You can handle about anything with it, and it'll stand up to it. So, well, let's build a reel. I'm gonna put this drive assembly back together first while it's fresh on my mind. I did pull a schematic today and print it off, but it doesn't match this reel, and I run into that a lot with reels. I don't know what else to say, and I just gotta sigh about it because it's kind of a pain, but we get through it. Anyway, let's put some lubrication on this thing and make a nice little 5500 out of it. I know what I was looking for was where those two shims went on the other side of the reel. I'll show you here in just a minute. Anyway, you're going to push your pinion gear back into the yoke and lubricate that. And you should get some lubrication on that yoke because that pinion spins in that yoke. And so you don't want that dry, you know. You don't have to kill this thing with grease. I'm probably already too heavy on it. But. And that will slide down in there just like that. And then we're going to build this part of it. Remember I was showing you this this anti-reverse goes on there like that. Now this reel did not have a shim right here. And this is the first Garcia. Of course, this is my first right-hand Garcia. But I don't know why, but it did not have a shim right there. All my other ones do. But you see how this, well, I've already let it slip away. You see how this anti-reverse works when as it comes around, the friction, it pulls away from it, and then when you turn it backwards, the friction pulls the dog, the anti-reverse pawl, back into the anti-reverse star, or sprocket, or skag, or I don't know, whatever you want to call it. We won't get real picky with nomenclature. That goes like that. Your gear, of course, you got a fiber washer that goes on first. Yes, I'm going to use cowls on everything on this one. I don't know what it's going to get used for. I'm going to build it like it's going to fight a monster. The cowls, it helps the drag be smoother. It doesn't make the drag any less. And your gear will get lubrication. Once again, we're not going to just kill this thing with grease. We're just going to put it on there real thin. This goes on. All right. You've got a fiber washer. Like I said, it's just going to get a little thin layer of cowls on it to help it be smoother. And I did change my camera angle, so if you're looking at my old bald head, I'm sorry. I'm trying to get a little better each day when I do each video that I shoot. This workbench is getting redone this weekend. I don't know if I'll tear down any more reels this week or not before I get to it. And you got your another fiber washer, then the eared washer, and then the last fiber washer. And you got the plate that goes on there. And you've got your concave, convex. You put them opposite each other. And I'll hold this up to the camera just a second. You want them to look like a spring. I don't know if you can see that in the camera or not. I don't want to turn this too far. Things will fall out. But it'll look like a spring. And then you got this last washer, and it's got like a little step on it, and that step goes up towards the bearing. That's what the bearing rides against. Then your bearing, and I did get the bearing freed up, so I didn't have to put a new bearing in it. Then your spring assembly goes in like that, and just a shade of grease underneath that on the yoke, because it does slide back and forth. And I think it might be ready. Okay, we're ready for the cover, I believe. Let me look at it, just make sure. Yeah, that goes with the spool. Yes. This is all cover parts. Alright, let's put the cover on. A little bit of grease in those two screw holes there. I'll go ahead and grease that just a little bit. When you put the cover on, of course it's got to go down over your bearing. The handle goes in that slot. Just line that up and everything should snap. You'll hear it snap. You put those two screws into the cover. Tighten those down. These are really simple reels, folks. I mean, you shouldn't have any troubles at all with these reels. Next is, we'll put that on last actually. That's it. That's all we'll do with this right now. It's smooth, it's looking good. It looks real good. All right, let's build the back cover. Now, these shims that I was concerned about do actually go right here. And I found that through scouring through some fishing sites. So they go, two little brass or copper shims go right there. There's a little plastic cover that go over those first. That holds them in place. Okay. And then you got this plastic gear will go on there like that. And the small gear goes up. And then you've got a snap ring. And let's just pray that I don't lose the snap ring. Cause, well, I'll probably have some more. I know I have some more actually, but I don't like to have to get them out if I don't have to. I'm going to take my needle nose. I'll try to get it. There we go. Got it there. I'll put just a dab of oil on that shaft. And that's probably all it needs. Okay. That. Let's put the spool assembly together. You've got a washer, a wavy washer I'll call it, that goes down in here first. Wavy washer sitting there, and then you got a bearing. Both these bearings are the same size. And you've got the centrifugal weight cage goes on there. And then you'll should rotate that a little bit. Snap ring goes on there to hold it. And yes, I'm going to rotate that around to make sure it gets held. In place. Okay, so we got that. And make sure those weights will slide. You got the bearing goes on the rear end. These are already lubricated. You got this gear that goes on there, and it's for the bait clicker, but this reel does not have a bait clicker, so we don't have to worry about that. Then your shaft will go in. A little gunk on the shaft there. I'm going fast, but there's what it looks like. There's what that end looks like. And your shaft goes in here. And there is your spool assembly. We'll set it aside. Let's build the frame. Okay, I flipped that hood up. You can put that back down now. That's where you can attach your line. It's made to flip up. I don't know. My people don't know that. Maybe. I don't know. But then you've got your worm gear. This is like putting a puzzle together. The hood, or the tube, goes in. Then your level line goes in. Get it lined up in that groove. Then your gear, or your worm gear, goes in. That will click into place. You got your keeper here. Slides into place. Okay, looks like that. Now you got to put your drive pawl in there. I just kind of drop it in and I put my finger over it and spin this gear, and it will eventually find its way home. And you know it's there because you spin the gear and it moves for you. Put a little dab of oil down in there, a little bit on the worm gear. Then you got the retainer for the pawl goes on there. And you can always test it to make sure it's working by spinning the gear, and it goes back and forth. Now it all just goes back together. I want to put a little bit of grease in those screw holes so that those screws will never stick. So it goes together like that, and you put your 3 screws in. This is one of the simplest reels you're ever going to take apart. I really like these Garcias. That's why I use them. I can maintain them really quickly in the off season. I can get all my stuff done that I'm going to use for next year in just a couple of days. On Saturday, Sunday, get down here when it's pouring down rain outside, nothing else to do. Strip line off, clean the reels, put fresh line on, and get everything ready for the next season. My freshwater stuff don't get done as often as the saltwater stuff, obviously. Alright, let's give it a quick wipe down. Alright, you can put the spool in at this point. I did not put any grease on those gears back there. Make sure your centrifugal weights are pushed all the way in. Okay. Let me wipe this down just a little bit. Optimally, you would not want oil or grease on this ring right here, because that's what those weights fly out against, and you want the inside of that clean. In this case, this WD-40 will dry out soon enough, and it won't be it'll be a non-issue, I guess you could say. But all right, a little bit of grease on those posts, a little bit of just a little dab of grease on there. You don't want to slow the reel down too much with too much grease. And start your shaft into the cover, the pinion gear, and it's just as easy as tightening up these captivated thumb screws, whatever you want to call them. I just give them just a little, not even a quarter of a turn. Now, this little plastic piece, you can just snap it on there. Hold that spool over and snap it in place. And then your cap just threads down on there. I've already got oil in it. This is your tension, spool tension cap. It's really Besides the centrifugal weights, this is the only cast control you have on this reel. So I always adjust. Well, the Garcias are a little different. We'll work on that in just a second. All right. Moving pretty quick here, not gonna lie. Here's where we're at. We got the handle to put on. Next is the drag, the star drag. Just a little dab of grease there. Star drag goes down like that. That boss goes down towards the bearing. You're adjusting your drag through that bearing. Now, if you get a Royal Express, which looks exactly like 5500 or 4500, it's going to have a plastic spacer where that bearing is. Well, here's the tip. Just order you a bearing for it, for a 5500 put there, and then you've got a C3. Pretty much. The drag's a little different on Royal Express. And I just did one of those. Actually, I've done 2 of those reels recently, and I kind of wish I had one to do for everybody because they are different, but they are the same. And you can take a lot of upgrades that you would use on a regular Ambassador and put on them and make them a whole lot better quality reel. And of course, Carbon Tex drag. I did not put Carbon Tex drags in this reel, folks, because yeah, I don't know if I'm gonna be fishing with it or not. So all right, if I do end up fishing with it for some reason, guarantee it'll get Carbon Tex drags. All right, just a little bit of grease there. Tighten down this nut. The trick to getting these nuts lined up just right is a flat. A flat on the nut should be towards that screw hole. Now I'll put this screw in the end of the shaft, and also you can put oil down in there too. That's how you oil. This is actually how you oil the main sleeve or shaft of this particular reel. Tighten that down. Cover will go on. The bolt hole is lined up on the handle. You drop that in. Screw, tighten it down. Don't kill it, just snug it. It's not going anywhere. Lubricate the handles. Like this reel, it's beautiful. Drag it nice and smooth. Oh yeah, look at that release. Oh, love it. That's a work of art. Yeah, back off it. Oh yeah, that thing's gonna cast beautiful. Anyway, folks, there is a really nice 5500 C3 that I picked up for a little bit of nothing, and it's definitely gonna, if it doesn't make one of my kids a good reel, it'll make somebody a good reel if I decide to turn it over and make some money on it. There you go. Please like my channel, or like my video, and subscribe to my channel. And you know, I appreciate it. I see a lot of people are watching things, and I'm real happy with that. I can't complain. This is a hobby. I don't do this for a living. This is strictly a hobby. I'm not charging people to rebuild reels. I do it because I love to do it. It's for my collection, or what I'm going to sell, and so I can buy more stuff for my collection. Anyway, that's that's the end of this video for the Vintage Fisherman. My name's John. Y'all take care. Have a good evening.